Hello, my name is Alistair McArthur and I'm Head of Costume here at the Royal Shakespeare Company. And I'm going to give you a little look around our fabulous new costume workshops. I think construction completed around about September last year and we started moving in almost immediately. It's been a long and exciting process, but it's been really exciting. The spaces are great and I hope that you will enjoy looking at them as much as we're enjoying being here. There are so many thousands of people that we need to thank right across the world who've generously donated to the Stitch in Time campaign to make these new workshops possible. Our old workshops were no longer fit for purpose. They were cold, they were dark, they were drafty, we had leaking windows, we had leaking roofs, we had uneven floors, we had no lift, you name it. They were a real challenge to work in, as characterful as they were. And we're very blessed now to have these extraordinary spaces which still have their own character, but still have pockets where the original buildings have been maintained. And we can look back and see where we used to work and see all of that heritage very readily. We are really looking forward to sharing these spaces with the public on public tours. And we're really looking forward to being able to take on apprenticeships and greater training opportunities. And these new spaces will allow us to do that through much better facilities and much better space. We haven't had everybody back yet because of the coronavirus, but we've had about half the team in and they've been working hard in this space, working on the Winter's Tale project. And it's been lovely seeing their reactions coming into these new spaces and being generally excited about it. And we're really looking forward to the point when we can all come back into the space. Anyway, I will show you around. I hope that you really enjoy it. I'm going to do a walk right from reception all the way around without stopping. So I think this video is probably about 22 minutes or so. But it will show you just how quickly we can move about the space and how closely they are linked together. So enjoy. Here we are in the main reception. These are the two great big double lock scenic doors that you can see on Waterside, beautifully restored. And these will be the new doors that lead you into the main reception. This is the main entrance into the costume workshops and the chapel inn offices. You'd come through those doors, through the two glass doors there, and you can see we still have work to do here. There's still the reception desk to build. This space used to be the costume office and the dancers dive act room in the old costume workshops. In fact, the fireplace you can see ahead, that was in the costume office. And those two windows were the windows where we had two desks by. And on either side of that you can see we've got an entrance and an exit way into the new Waterside building. We're going to go through this door here. It does say no entry because it's a COVID protocol, but at the moment I'm just going to go through the route that one would walk if you were coming into the building, and straight into a small lobby area. The space here, this used to be our main entrance into the costume workshops. We had the white picket gate at the bottom. And you'd walk up the ramp. And here, this space here, this was the door into one of the main buildings with the costume office and costume props, women's and millinery and jewellery and dye. That staircase now leads up to the first floor. But straight ahead, we have a lovely exhibition space here. And to the right, we have the Lydia and Manfred Gorvey Hub for public engagement. This space used to be the ground floor men's lobby and our fitting area. It's now a beautiful, gorgeous, spacious area, beautifully panelled, and it's full height. So this used to have a floor up there, and that was where the stockroom was. And those are the famous beams that designers used to knock their heads on as they were bowing underneath them to get to all our rails of fabric. You can see we have the original crystal windows in place. It's been beautifully and sensitively restored. It's had a lot of work done to this building. The floor was lowered quite a bit, and actually those two fire extinguishers, I think the top of the fire extinguishers is roughly where the floor was when it was our lobby and fitting area. Two new double doors there, beautiful doors, and two lovely stable doors at the edge of the hub, so we can just open the top of the doors if work's going on here, but people walking past can still get a flavour of what's going on in here. We've got a few rails and stuff in here because we were using this space for our costume fittings for the Winter's Tale filming, just because it was a space where we had lots of windows that we could open and therefore have a lot of ventilation through following COVID protocols. But going back out of the hub, and if we turn right, if you're coming through main reception, there's a staircase straight ahead of you, and this leads straight up to the admin offices. This leads straight to Chapel Lane. We have a lift there, which is a really handy thing for us. But also immediately to the left, we have a door that leads into the ground floor of the costume workshops. And we have a large window here that follows through. We can see we've got a nice view into costume props, and beyond that into millinery, and right beyond that we have the dye print room. But let's go through this ground floor door, down a couple of steps, and we have the main service corridor that leads into the ground floor workrooms. So immediately here on the left, costume props, footwear and armoury. This room will take 3 people, and we have 3 lovely new workbenches for them with a new central work table. New efficient storage in place, local exhaust ventilation extraction in place to support whatever work they need to do. We've got a machine room to the side through there with our new vac former. All new storage, all sorted out to be as efficient as possible. But actually the striking difference in here are the windows. It's the light. So the old costume props room was really cramped, really dark. There wasn't much space to put anything. It stored a lot of armour, which is now stored somewhere else. It was just not a good place to work. There was very little natural daylight. And you can see now, this is a beautiful, glorious, spacious space. We invested in new industrial sewing machines for them because the machines that they had were well over 30, 40 years old, and we couldn't get the spare parts anymore. So they've got new equipment in here. And of course, as I said before, there's a window that looks straight into millinery and jewellery. So people sitting, working at this bench here can see what's going on in millinery next door and vice versa, which I think is a really good touch. It just links all the workrooms together, gives them a sense of being part of a greater whole. Back into the corridor, and we'll go next door into millinery. Lovely vision window here in the corridor as people are walking past to see into millinery. Millinery in the old building used to be a very narrow room, very dark. There was no space for a proper cutting table. This is now beautiful, a beautiful, gorgeous square room. Lots of natural light coming from those windows and the rooms next door. 3 purpose-built workbench areas for the team of 3 in here, and a lovely new gorgeous centre work table, and a new drilling bench as well. Again, LEV extraction in place for the work that they do here. We've consolidated all the storage to get everything together as much as possible. You can see, and of course, this is one of the good bits. It's a bit noisy, but our lovely storage cabinet, you can see where we have all of our beads in place, double-sided. And again, it's just all about making the most efficient use of the space that we can. But beautiful and light and spacious. Next door, we move into the dye print room. Which is at the far end. The old dye room was upstairs, a very odd shape, difficult to manoeuvre. Had a spray booth in the bottom corner. This is now just for their printing and distressing painting work. So we have 3 work tables here for the team of 3. Again, windows to the outside on 2 sides, plus of course the window looking next door into millinery. We will have a new print table in the centre. This is just the old temporary one. We're just waiting for that one. That's on order at the moment. But they've got much more space here than they used to, and the team are really happy with this. It really enables them to work methodically and efficiently with good lighting and good space and good ventilation. But what's really good in this room as well is the window at the end, overlooking the corridor, also looks into the new dye vat room. In the old building, dye vats were upstairs, and the team had to keep running up and downstairs between the 2. This way they can see what's happening in that room next door. So let's pop through there and have a look at dye vats. So we have 2 gorgeous large vats in place. But what's really important in here is the light, and this door is critical because this door leads outside, which means the team can open the door, they can pop out and do colour matching natural daylight. That ramp we call our service ramp that leads up to the gate there. That leads onto Chapel Lane, which then crosses directly to the theatre, and that's our major route for getting in costumes on rails and in skips. In here we've got domestic machines for pre-washing and machine dyeing, as well as the dye vats, and we have a very large, gorgeous hot box for drying fabrics and clothing after they've been dyed. But this is a really, I mean, you can see how light and spacious this is in here. I mentioned before that in the old dye print room, just in there, in the old building, they used to have a spray room in the corner. We now have two shared spray rooms that dye, millinery and costume props will use. Here is the first, this is the larger one, spray room 1, and this is primarily for spraying, breaking down. It does have a door, I passed the door very quickly, it's not just open in the corridor. And next door to that, spray room 2, which is the much smaller booth, and this will primarily be used, I think, by millinery and by costume props for small pieces of work. Further on the corridor, we have a small storeroom to the left just here, which houses additional, with the lights on, just houses additional millinery stock. That's feathers and bits of fruit and stuff, but it's very close to their room. So we're going to go back up the stairs. I'm deliberately doing this as one long video so you can see just how quickly it is to move around from floor to floor, to space to space. So we're going back up these stairs, which, as I say, is the main route through to Chapel Lane if you weren't coming into the costume workshop. This brings up into the link space, which is the new covered link with Chapel Lane, which just goes the space through there and connects with the administrative hub of the building. But if you turn left, and we have a door here, and we come into the first floor of the costume workshops, and you can just see through the window there the top of the hub, or the old stockroom building, and part of that building has been retained. You can see this beautiful brickwork here, the original building, we can see it there in all its glory. But straight ahead we have the women's workroom. Actually, very importantly, to the left of that, we have a lift. We have a lift, which is amazing. And that lift goes down to the ground floor and the below ground floor that connects us to our service ramp. But coming to the women's workroom, you can see this is a lovely space. We've got a team of 8 in here. Gloriously light, great big tall windows flooding the room with as much light as possible. We have new work tables that we've had made because our old work tables, again, were very old and were just falling apart. But everything here is about just making as efficient and smart as possible. I probably can't lift the light there because the sun is very, very bright, but you can see very tall windows. It's an L-shaped room, but actually it's working really well as we've now laid it out. You can see we have storage at the far end. We have a bank of industrial sewing machines down here for the team. But also what's lovely for these guys is the windows at the bottom. If I kind of come round, we can see the tower. For the first time we're in workrooms here and we can actually see the theatre next door. But also, if I just move around through the windows here, we can also see Chapel Lane. So we really are in the centre, and it connects us to both aspects of the RSC. Lovely spacious room. Obviously we had a few people working in here doing the Winter's Tale, and it worked really, really well. So if we go back out into the corridor, and immediately on the left we have the costume office, which is our core team of 2 plus our freelance costume supervisors. This is what we call kind of the hub of the costume workshops. This is where our designers may be based with our costume supervisors, where lots of the design decisions are made as well about the show. Next door to that is my room. I wanted that to connect to the office. You can see we have an open door through there. So actually they kind of work as one big room. But at the end of this corridor, we have the doors coming into the men's workroom. Again, gloriously light, skylights in the roof, big windows, flooding in as much light as possible. All laid out, team of 9 in here, with cutters and sewers. Really spacious again, beautiful and light, all organised efficiently, all their bank of industrial sewing machines over here. And again, much the same as in women's, you might not see because of the glare, but through the windows there we can actually see the theatre. And it is lovely to be in these workrooms and see the theatre. All new efficient storage. And again, same as women's, all new work tables to replace the ones that were falling apart. If we come to the end here, there's this glorious tall window which overlooks the service ramp that we looked at from the from the dive out room. There's our service ramp with the gate, and that backs onto Chapel Lane. And what's lovely about this window as well is that the team here can see out, but people walking down Chapel Lane can see in here. You know, from outside you can see these dress stands. And I think that's going to be really lovely, especially in the winter when the lights come on. As people are walking down, they'll see a bit of activity of what's going on in this extraordinary new building. But you can see how gorgeous and light this is. In the far corner of the men's workroom, we have what we call our shared equipment space. We used to have things dotted about the workrooms. Buttons were in the costume cottage, some buttons were in men's, some were in women's. They are now all in one place. That big shelving unit there, they are all buttons. Can you believe it? They are all buttons. We have our buttonhole machine here for everybody to use, and our eyelets that link with the eyeleting machines, fusing press, cover stitch. As I say, what's nice is it's a shared space. So even though this is in the men's workroom, some of the team from women's will be in here, possibly some from costume props, millinery. This is the space that everybody can use. Immediately back into the corridor with our funky glass board notice board for the department. And we have the fitting rooms to the left. Helen, our head of dye, has done some great work of trying to just make the glass a little bit more interesting and give a little bit of privacy. This is set up as just one big room, but we will have a curtain in the middle to allow it to be divided into 2. You can see we have some storage. We've got leftover winter's towel costumes, but actually what's great in here as well, you're going to see me again, but we have great big trifold mirror at one end, which is brilliant, and another one at the other end, which is also brilliant. So this will be divided by a curtain, kind of roughly where the edge of that wall, the edge of that rail is. As I say, so we can divide it into 2 rooms if we need to. But a really nice space. So as we come out of here, we're going to come back to the edge of the old stockroom building. And what's lovely here is there's a little room here, which we call the materials store. This used to be the pattern room end of the stockroom, and this houses all our spare fabric, all the fabric that's left over from shows when we don't need that fabric anymore. That all lives in here. And along with all of our braids, that's all braids down there. We have more fabric. We have our lace. We have all of our cords, but also original windows, original crickle windows that look over there in the corridor. And again, it's a little bit glary, you probably can't see, but the window down there, you can see the backs of the cottages and you can actually see the theatre again. Coming out of this room, you'll see we have a small platform lift here. This goes down into costume props, footwear and armoury, and goes up to the attic into our shoe store, which is brilliant for them. It means they can move really heavy things up and down without having to carry them up the stairs. So we're coming to the front of the building. We're going to come into the stockroom. The stockroom used to be the dye print room. It's a bit hard to get your head around because this store never used to exist. But look at this. Isn't this just beautiful? So in here, the stockroom, of course, is our major hub where we have all the fabrics and trimmings that are available for productions to buy from stock. We've invested in lots of nice new storage that makes it a lot more efficient for the team to find things, and also of course looks really interesting for the tours. Lovely new big centre cutting table, and actually these glorious windows here that you can see, and you can see just beyond that stand there are the big entrance double doors. So as you're standing here, you can look down as people are coming into main reception. You can wave at them and say hello. They can look up and see little bits here, but actually the windows that look outside onto waterside, as you're walking past there, you can see these rolls of fabric. So that's really quite nice as well. Again, lots of nice new, efficient, organised, methodical storage, and all of our stock fabrics all in the one place, and all in a space where you can walk through without banging your head on low beams. We've also moved the pattern room element into here, so this is where we keep all our fabric swatches and samples. That's all on these shelves here, and that's samples from UK suppliers and international suppliers. And again, this is where designers and costume supervisors will work and actually choose the fabrics that are going into the shows. Really nice, lovely, light, spacious space. We've retained the old fireplace. So again, this was in the upstairs dye room. And as I say, that door never used to be there, sorry. But actually there used to be a door kind of where those big white folders are. That was the door that went out of the dye room. That's of course has been blocked up. There's a lovely window here that looks down into the courtyard, overlooking our old costume cottage, you can see. And what a beautiful shape that is. That's a proper old, gorgeous Victorian courtyard. You can see a lovely planter in the middle there, and Costume Cottage is now becoming a costume prop workshop. I'm going to go back out of here, and we're going to go up the staircase here, and this takes us up to the two bits of attic storage. So we're going to go right first of all into attic storage 2, and this is a bit of a multi-purpose storage space. You can kind of get the scale of it there. At the front we'll be storing all our live show fabrics for the shows that are currently in performance. We also have a bit of stock room storage, so waddings, which are very, very big, which take up a lot of room. But critically down here we also have the armour store. So we have, here you can see, we've got shields all on storage. We have helmets, breastplates and backplates. We have belts, baldricks, scabbards, sword belts. And at the far end here we have all our armour moulds for backforming new pieces. And also, of course, here at the end with these glorious windows over at waterside. Again, through there you can't see, I think, because it's a bit glary, but we can see the theatre. So there's that real link. It is a functional space, but it is a really good and useful space, and it's very light. And it's very useful for us. It's very easy to get to. And then our last space we have just across the way is our shoe storage. So again, critically here we have the platform lift. As I said, it goes downstairs, but all our lovely shoe storage. Shoe storage in the old place was kind of in a very narrow, almost like a corridor. You couldn't really see it, you couldn't get to it. But everything's now boxed up, it's fully accessible, and we have about 3,000 or so pairs of boots and shoes, and actually this has been designed and arranged so it can all be got at very easily, and there's space, because of course when you're looking through boxes and boxes and boxes of shoes, you need the space to be able to sort them and get them out, and we could never do that before. And you can see we've managed to cram every inch of this as much as we can. We've crammed in with shoes. And what's lovely in here is there's a window again, so you get the feeling we're outside. And as we come to the window, We see the roof lights looking down into the men's workroom. But critically, as we just move around to the left, we can see the theatre, and there's part of the Swan. And again, you just see how close we are and how fantastically designed these buildings are. So there you are. I really hope you enjoyed that little look around our new costume workshops. Once again, thank you so much to the very many thousands of you all across the world who donated so kindly and so generously to the Stitch in Time campaign. We really couldn't have done this without you, and I really hope that you are excited by seeing these spaces as much as we are about working in them. And we're really looking forward to producing some extraordinary costumes over the coming years, and certainly these spaces will really help inspire us to that. Thank you very, very much indeed, and we will hopefully see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.